Hey everyone, it's Nick, and we are back for another edition of Ask Ron. Unfortunately, this week it is only me because Ron actually went on vacation and is unavailable. We did record yesterday with him all of your questions, and we got all of his answers. But the bad news is we had some issues with the recording, and technology got in the way, and it was corrupt. Good news is, though, is that I remember most of his answers, and I think I've been working with him long enough that some of these questions I know the answers to anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and answer for him this week, and we'll be back next week with him, hopefully back in person. As a reminder, this is we do this every week. Usually it's Ron answering the questions. This week it's me. But for our Gold Club members, you can always submit your questions either to ask@ronlegrand.com, or you can go on Facebook and use Facebook Messenger to message us your questions. Our first question is from Ellis in Pennsylvania. Ellis asked, can we take title to a foreclosure subject to if we bring the loan current? The answer is yes, you can, and you're probably in most states more than likely required to bring it current before you can take title to it if it's in foreclosure. Let's see. Next question is from Kevin in Texas. Kevin asks, when forming a new LLC, is there a company that will act as registered representative? Should I use this company in creating land trusts as well for the name that goes on public record? Kevin, to answer your question, yes, there is. There are companies that will act as your registered representative. But really, we just recommend that you find, of course, yourself on there and then someone close to you to do it. But if you want to pay a company to do so, you can. We don't have any recommendations for companies, but you can just search Google for a company. In states that allow it, you'll use the new LLC as a trustee when creating that land trust. Texas, you're in Texas, yeah. So Texas does not allow it. So again, you're still going to need to find that someone close to you to be the trustee of your land trusts. Let's see. Next question is from Phil in Ohio. Phil says, on a subject to or a wrap, I understand that the CYA letter signed by the seller protects us. Yes, it does. It actually also protects you for a lot of other things in addition to just the due on sale clause. He says it protects us if the bank calls a loan, so we're not liable to the seller. But if we have a tenant buyer in the house and we have guaranteed him the right to buy the house for a set price for the next 3 years, how can we fulfill our obligation to him if the loan gets called before his lease term is up? Okay, so you have a tenant buyer in there, but the bank comes and calls the loan due. Well, first of all, it probably won't happen that way. They likely won't call it due because banks don't want houses. They want payments. So as long as payments are being made, you should be fine. But to your question, if it does get called due, you would work with the buyer and the bank because again, since they don't want houses, they want payments. If payments are being made and there is a tenant buyer in there, you can likely work with the bank to get that buyer qualified since they're already in the house. That was Ron's. I actually did not know the answer to that one, but I do recall Ron saying that yesterday when we recorded it. Let's see. Next question is from Joseph in North Carolina. What is the best advice you can give someone looking to make their first deal happen? Okay, that's a big question. And it's kind of going to depend on where you are, kind of as far as your real estate education so far. As well as whether or not you want to spend a lot of your time or if you're in a position to spend some money to help shortcut that process to your first deal. So my biggest recommendation to get to your first deal is to generate leads. That is the completed property information sheets. I'm in marketing, so that's what we have to have in order to sell anything. We need leads. We need marketing out there generating new prospects into our pipeline. So that's where I would start. I would get the leads flowing. Now, we really recommend that you have a VA do this so that you don't get burnt out, quickly on all the no's and the people who don't answer their phone. Because you got to remember, the people that we call, all the sellers, most of them want all cash for their homes, just like you do when you sell a house, you probably want all cash. So the nerve of those people, but they want all cash, and they're not willing to do terms. So it's really a numbers game. We're working with the few, not the many, who want to work with us. Now, with that said, if you do get a completed property information sheet and you have no idea what to do next, then my recommendation first would be to get education. So I would actually start with the Pretty House Terms course, and then move up to the Quick Start Real Estate School. And again, depending on whatever pace you want to do, you can fast track this, go straight to Quick Start, because you'll learn everything that's in the terms course at Quick Start. So they don't have to be done in that particular order. So just the faster you want to move and the faster you want to get going. But we do actually have a virtual Quick Start School coming up on the 24th. So if you're interested in getting signed up for that, you can give our course advisors a call at 800-567-6128. Now, if you've already got all the education and you've got the leads flowing and you're just still not breaking through that barrier, then the next logical step for me, I think, would be a mentor to actually, push you, listen to your calls, tell you what you're doing wrong on them, help you make calls, and essentially just hold your hand all the way through the process until you get your deal. That would be my recommendation, depending on where you are. Let's see. Next question is from Marvin in North Carolina. Another one from North Carolina. Marvin says, I was told by a North Carolina attorney that North Carolina frowns upon lease option offerings to buyers in the state. Somewhere in Ron's discussions, I had heard of a secret paragraph that must be added to the lease option contracts that solve this problem. Okay, so I don't think the problem is lease options in North Carolina. It's the attorney you're talking to. We've got thousands of students doing lease options in North Carolina with no problem. Jay Connor, one of our partners, he actually lives in North Carolina and has no problems with these options. And there's no secret paragraph in our agreement that I'm aware of that's special for North Carolina. So I would just talk to some other people. I think that attorney just isn't the right person to talk to, not who you want to help you run your real estate business. All right, looks like we got a couple more questions here. 3 more. Actually, we got 3 just from Rob here in Illinois. They look like pretty short questions. Rob's first question, should you put your residence in a land trust? Yeah, absolutely. You should put your residence in a land trust. How much of the monthly payment should be applied towards the principal when buying and selling with a lease purchase? Okay, so when we buy, we usually try to buy with seller financing, but if you're buying on a lease purchase, really whatever the max you can negotiate going towards the purchase price is what you should do. Now, because you just want that to be paid down. You want yours to go down if possible. So if you can get the seller to agree to pay down that price, with your monthly rent payments, then great, you should. As far as when you're selling though with lease purchase, none of the monthly rent goes towards the purchase price. The initial lease option deposit, of course, goes towards the purchase price, but after that, the price is fixed. It's the same on day one as it is 2 years when you sell the house. So they're just making monthly rent payments, and their option amount stays the same that whole time. So none of it. And Rob's last question is, should you let Gold Club FSBO leads mature for 60 to 90 days before calling? No, I don't think so. You should call them right away, because there's just going to be a lot of other people calling. Now, I do think that you should have follow-up in place, because they may have, if you don't get in early, in front of, there's realtors calling them. There's possibly other investors calling them. So if you're not first and you don't get, something under contract, and they end up not doing a deal, then, or if a realtor convinces them to list it, you should have a follow-up system in place so that you can contact them again automatically in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days all the way up 6 months, a year, because especially if they haven't sold their house in 6 months or a year, then if they weren't willing to in the beginning, they're much more likely to at that point. Ron always says all sellers' minds change with time and circumstance. So a lot could have changed in 6 months. So you should, so I guess the answer is no and yes. You should call them right away, but then you should also call them back in 60 to 90 days. Using a system like Dreams, for example, Dreams will automate that follow-up by either sending them emails or text messages or leaving them ringless voicemail drops, or just triggering your VA or yourself to give them a call back at a scheduled date and time. All right, 2 more questions. One from Edgar, right here in Florida, where I am. Can the trustee sell the property from the trust that I am the beneficiary? And can I be protected by a well-written trust agreement? Yes, actually, the trustee is the only one that can sell the property. The trustee on the trust is the only one that can sell it. Unlike Texas from a few questions back, here in Florida, your trustee can be an LLC. So you just want to make the LLC your trustee, and of course you control the LLC. So you control the LLC, so then you won't have any trouble finding yourself when it's time to sell that property. So here in Florida, that's how you want to do it. All right, and last question here is from Cecil in Texas. And Cecil says, if I get a homeowner to owner finance on a lease option contract, all right, let me finish the question. That part doesn't make sense so far, but with simple interest on a 3-year lease, does the homeowner have to report the interest? Okay, Cecil, so I think you're confusing a couple of different strategies here. If a homeowner is owner financing or seller financing, there's no lease option in here. You would either use you would use a purchase and sale agreement to do this, and your attorney would prepare the documents for the owner finance transaction. But the answer to your question is the interest part. Yes. According to the IRS, that's interest income, and they would certainly have to pay taxes on that. Now, if the seller's asking you this question, your answer should be, you'll want to check with your CPA on that, but I believe it would be taxable. It's funny, you could actually probably use that as a way to maybe convince them to not charge you any interest on the transaction. I think that's actually in one of Ron's rebuttal scripts. If a homeowner asks about interest, then you reply, it's like, don't you pay enough taxes already? You have to pay taxes on that interest. But you're not a CPA, I assume, Cecil, so you shouldn't be answering questions like that. You should just ask them to refer to their CPA, but the answer is likely yes. On that note, I am also not a CPA or an attorney, so all my questions, I'm wrong on all the answers. I'm wrong on all of them, and you should consult with your own attorney and CPA. But that is our last question here. So that's it. A couple of quick announcements. We do have, Ron has agreed to do another virtual quick start school next week, 2 weeks from now, sorry. It is on the 24th of June, 2020. That's when it starts. We're doing a full 4 days. Last time we did it, we only did 3 days, and we cut out the bus tour. But this time we are actually going to do we're going to record an ugly house tour. We're going to go out. Jay Connor is flying into town, and him and Ron are going to go and tour a few ugly houses. And the team and I, we're going to go out and record that. And then Jay and Ron can comment live on the houses and talk with you live on the quick start. So we're doing a full 4 days for this upcoming virtual quick start school. If you're, it's same as a regular quick start as far as all the requirements, as far as cost and eligibility to repeat. So if you're within your 1 year and you'd like to come back and repeat for free, it's a great opportunity. You don't have to travel anywhere, so you can get in there. If you're beyond a year, then you just pay the $500 repeat fee, and you get to repeat at lower cost. But if you'd like to get in as a new student, then come on, give us a call, 800-567-6128, and get signed up for it. It is, you'll be able to submit leads. We're going to be doing deal structuring on there. We're going to have mentors calling. Get signed up as soon as you can, because the deadline to submit leads is actually the 18th, June 18th, because we got to give the mentors time, our VA's time to call through, and then the mentors time to call and get those appointments set up and those deals structured for you. So that's all I got, and we'll see you next week, hopefully next time with Ron. Bye, guys.